Hey everyone, it's Erin Grace, and today I am with my good friend Jerry De La Hoya. Jerry, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, how are you guys? My name is Jerry De La Hoya with Cal Credit Recovery. I want to say thank you, Erin, for having me on, and yeah, here to help.
Of course, of course. Thank you so much for being with me. So today I really wanted to kind of bring value, and I know that a lot of questions are coming up with regards to credit or deferral of payments and what you should do and what you should consider. So Jerry is an expert, a credit expert. So I wanted to kind of bring him on so we can pick his brain a little bit about what his recommendations are and what he suggests. So I'm going to start with a few questions. First off, I know that a lot of people may or may not know these simple terms, but what is a forbearance?
A forbearance really is just an agreement with your lender or your bank that basically the agreement is that you're not making payments for an X amount of time. The idea behind that forbearance is basically just that it won't accrue interest. So whatever that is taken out of that you're not paying every month, it either adds up in one lump sum or it breaks down in multiple payments as the term of the loan goes. Mhm.
Okay, so they have to typically, like, does someone have to call their finance company or mortgage financier and ask them if they can do a forbearance? What is that? Do you know what that process might be?
Yeah, definitely. So it's very different from whatever lender that you're working with. So the idea is that you call, you ask if they're offering it and what package, how they're tailoring it. So like I said, sometimes they want a lump sum, or other times they are willing to break it down in a 6 to 12 month period. The forbearance, the actual payments that you miss. Mhm.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Thank you for that. And another simple term, what is a deferred payment? What does it mean to defer a payment for people that may not know?
A deferred payment is a lot like a forbearance, only that a lot of times a deferred payment, what it does, it keeps the interest keeps adding on. So it's just a situation that is put into place for a short period of time, and it usually comes into play with student loans. So right now in this current situation, forbearance is something that's kind of more common, only because the banks or the credit card companies or whatever, they generally want to help the client, and which means not adding interest to the loan.
Okay, and again, so I didn't ask this question with the forbearance, but do any of the deferral or forbearance, when you do that, how does that report on your credit report? What does that look like?
Well, they're not they don't have to report that you're not paying on your credit report. That's the thing. But definitely, if you're in a hardship situation where you feel that you can't pay your mortgage payment, or you can't pay your mortgage payments, you should call, and that would be probably one of the best questions you could ask. Just
Okay.
be very clear if it's going to affect your credit or not. If obviously your credit is something that's really important to you, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So how do I manage my credit with my house payment? That was one of the questions that we had gotten.
Okay. Well, managing your credit with your house payment, basically, what that means, or I think how they're trying to what they're trying to figure out is that um, is forbearance or deferments a good option with their mortgage. Most of this information that we're gonna touch on really is meant for somebody who really is not working and there's really no income coming in, and it's affecting their life in the sense of just maybe food or whatever it is, only
Yeah.
because that's really the best time to exercise one of these programs, which is a forbearance or deferments. And in that case, really how it affects your credit, again, it's depending on your current financial situation. It's depending on you calling and figuring out whether they're going to be letting the bureaus know whether you're not making payments or not. But more than anything, that's how it would work. It's just calling and making sure that how it affects your credit. Mhm.
Okay, perfect. And I would assume that is that the same with the car payment when you are are people able to defer their car payments right now?
Yeah, they are actually. The majority are banks are offering deferments. What they're doing specifically, or the most popular ones, is they're basically allowing you to extend your lease or extend your car payment to actually fit in these new negotiations, so that when you do enroll into a deferment, if you decide to just say maybe like break down the payments that you're not paying into multiple months, which a lot of people are doing that, you actually have the extended term.
Got
So
it.
one thing that's very important is that if your lease or your car payment is coming up and maybe you can't pay your car payment, call your car lender, ask them, they'll extend your lease, they'll extend your contract so that you could actually not make payments for 3 months or even more. And you could actually break down your payments even smaller, because obviously you don't want to get caught up. And I think that one of the main parts of why I wanted to do this when you invited me in is that I think the framing and just the idea of not getting caught up with so many balloon payments, that's what I'm trying to go over. I guess when I talk to you, that's what you want to do too. Put out the right information so that people are not caught up with $15,000 in mortgage payments, $4,000 in car payments. So yeah, definitely
I've
call.
heard that
Figure out.
actually. Like a friend, someone that I know, had said that they had contacted their bank, their mortgage company, and asked what that would look like. And I think it was deferring it for 3 months, but at the of that next fourth month, they did have to pay all of it back, which seemed like impossible, right? I mean, if someone's deferring their payment, it's because they can't pay it, not because they're saving it in the bank for a couple of months to send it back to them. So that's a really good point. Thank you.
No, and that's exactly it. And again, it goes into your mortgage, which is going to be the main account that you want to be able to figure out and pay. But if you add your car notes, and say if you have two car notes, and they say you have credit card, which a lot of people right now do have an X amount of balances, then that in 3 months or 4 months, it could be a nightmare. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
could see that. And then what about like someone's credit cards? Are there any programs for those that for those people that cannot pay?
Well, there definitely is. Um, the best case scenario for everybody, I think for anybody who understands the power and the worth of having good credit, is to and has open credit cards, is to contact each credit card and see what they offer, because there is very little amount of information in most websites, but when you go into detail and you communicate with them, which I have, they do have some solid programs. Like American Express, I know, has a really good program where they're able to negotiate the smallest payment possible on your credit card. So say your payments a little bit larger than the average, they're willing to negotiate that
Oh, you're talking about like
down.
monthly payment?
Monthly payment.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, they're changing or lowering the monthly payment?
Lowering the monthly payment. It's again, and this is something that I'm addressing now, which if you understand and you kind of see that other credit card companies are doing it allows you to have solid ground with calling your credit card company. Say if you're with Discover, be like, hey, look, they're doing this over here. Can you help me out with that? And usually credit
Wow,
cards work that way. Also,
that's really
too,
good to know.
is huh?
Really good to know.
Oh, definitely. No. Like I said, I'm here to really create something that's realistic, that's factual, so that you're able to keep your credit through this. And yeah, the banks or the credit card companies are there. It's just you do have to call. You have to like your friend. You have to really understand what you're getting yourself into. But let me actually get you some other information on those credit
Sure.
cards.
Yeah, please
Um,
share as much information.
yes, Bank of America. Bank of America is currently offering small business and consumers credit card holders options that include requests for deferment payments and refund on late fees. So Bank of America, they're actually offering small businesses and credit cards deferment. So that's super important,
Yeah.
because I mean, you got to kind of understand what a late does to your credit. You know, a late could really drop you down, and if something happens, God forbid, with your house, where you got to refinance or maybe purchase another one,
Right.
that's where the whole disastrous type situation starts happening. It's from the credit cards, then the car, then the house. It's kind of like a trickle effect. So you want to be able to call and I'm repeating myself, call these credit cards, get as much as information as possible, and exercise what seems right. Right. Here's another one with Citi. Okay. Oh, it's another forbearance. So say you have credit cards or anything or in collections or anything that has to do with Citi, call them. They have programs available off the bat. They're actually making them public to the consumers. So they might be also on the website, but forbearance is an option for them. Okay.
Awesome, awesome. So that your last comment just brought me to something. Obviously, as a realtor, I know that if someone is going to be buying a home or refinancing a home, that they cannot have any lates in the last 12 months. So we are getting to that point where we are, someone could potentially miss a payment, get a or have a late payment and not be able to fix that in enough time if they're going to refinance or buy a property. Is that
Yeah.
right?
There you go. I think the again, like the point of this is just to come full circle and get the logic behind it.
Yeah.
If you call and you communicate and you take some of these little tips and you apply them with your credit cards and say like the Goldman Sachs is pretty much letting you skip the payment for April. They have an Apple card that's very popular where you actually don't pay the payment for April. I think as you go, they're going to be more flexible. So
Okay.
if you get this information and you manage it the right way, starting with your credit cards, with your car, and your houses, um, it could be manageable to not really take that dramatic hit.
Mm.
Like in any time in history, the people who take the biggest hit are the clients, or sorry, the consumers that lack the knowledge, that lack the information
Right.
to really keep yourself above water. And I'll give you another one real quick. Navy Federal Credit Union, which is very, very popular federal credit union. Um, so they're offering possible solutions for loans, including extensions, deferred payments, and emergency loans and credit limit increases. So
Wow.
just want to be clear, Navy, and this is a very popular one. I'm sure
Yeah. I've heard of
you've had a lot of clients who have Navy Federal Credit Union. Um, they have um, loan extensions. So obviously, loans, there's a term. They extend it. Sometimes when they extend the loans and they renegotiate the payments, which lowers the payment, if you understand how that works.
Yeah.
Deferred payments, which just automatically you don't pay anything. Also emergency loans and low credit limit increase. So if you get to a point where you're going to use your credit, say your credit limits are relatively low, and you're at a point where you're going to use them, it's probably best to call and see if you could get a credit limit increase, because that right there, if you work with your credit cards well enough, you could even make your mortgage payment, figure out a way to make your mortgage payment with that, because you do not want to fall behind. You want to be able to use everything that's available to you in terms of like how you could gather some kind of money, and then negotiate with your credit cards, figure out how they could help you out in the long term.
And I think with, this situation, it's super unfortunate, but I think that because it's a global situation, versus when we had the housing market crash, like people didn't know what to do. They let everything fall behind, their mortgage payments, their credit card payments, everything. And people really didn't know what to do, but they also, in some cases, didn't get help from credit card companies. Maybe the mortgage lenders were doing, helping and doing the loan modifications and whatnot. But now I feel like people have a better opportunity to really save their credit if they're proactive and they start working on it now, because we're early on. And, most banks are really weren't willing to work with people right now. So I think that's perfect.
Oh, and that's really important what you just said early on. I think that when we were talking and we were communicating on how important it would be to do this, and then the idea of this chat came up. For me, that the main driving force was to get this information out there early on. It could take you a couple of hours, not gonna lie, because I have called most of these banks to get the right information. Um, but it's worth it to call early on, figure out what's available, put yourself as a consumer in the right place and prepare. I mean, I hate to say it, but worst case scenario, and what that means basically, it's either, God forbid, selling or purchasing another home, or supporting a family member with co-signing on a house, whatever it is, preparing yourself without dishing out so much money, because obviously if people are losing their jobs or businesses or whatever, a lot of money on a monthly basis goes to the credit cards, goes to their cards. So if somebody dishes out, let's just say with cards and credit cards, 1,500, which is not that much, or 2 grand a month, and they save that for their mortgage, that then it's really just a little window where, or that we have to kind of overcome, of like darkness, I guess you could say. Not, instead of like not really getting the right information and letting that little window become just kind of a year to 2 years of just darkness because you didn't take the right precautions.
Right, right. That's so true. And I think like going back to them having the opportunity now to look at what payments they have, and really, like you said earlier, communicating with those finance companies or mortgage lenders is probably the key point. What else do you recommend, and what does your company do?
Well, the last thing I wanted to throw out here, it's USSA, which is a credit card company, and I wanted to throw this in here just because they have off the bat a 90-day deferment.
Oh
So if
wow.
you have a USAA credit card, you call, you ask for it, and the money is in your bank as
Oh
opposed to the
wow.
credit card, 90-day.
Oh, okay.
What my company does, I'm with Cal Credit Recovery. What we do is we work with the three major parts that credit consists of, which is what makes us unique. So credit rebuilding consists of building credit, credit secrets, which is something that we teach clients how to boost their credit, and also credit repair. So the idea behind that, and what we do is we basically work with a lot of buyers that have the job, have the money to buy the house, but got into a dark patch where they need to improve their credit score, um, and they need to do it in a way where whatever funding that they have for the house, because obviously that's priority,
Right.
stays there. The majority of it stays there. So we have a very cost effective avenue to get people going into any, mostly, well, pretty much any kind of approval, but mainly home mortgages and car notes.
Okay. Okay. And what is the success rate for your company in terms of helping people?
Well, we have a 45-day program for anyone who is pre-screened by a lender or an agent, meaning like they have their employment, they have their down payment, they have everything ready to get a home. We have a 45-day turnaround that allows them to get a score increase of 60 to 160 points. So that's our most aggressive, that's our most popular program for agents or lenders. We do have a traditional program that's more of a 6 to 12 months type program. Not very popular with the agents or lenders, but it's still there. It's good. It's a good way to build your foundation and get everything going for anyone who wants to buy a house within 6 to 12 months. But yeah, if somebody's serious and somebody really wants to move forward and get a home, the 45-day mark with the 60 to 160 point increase is about as good as it gets for our pricing for sure.
Well, good, good. Well, that's good to know. I know that, however people come out of this situation, right? Whether it's that they've missed a couple of payments or that they now, 6 months down the line realize that they want to purchase something or need to refinance, that they know that they can call you to help them.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that kind of like listening to our conversation, I would say we should definitely do a follow up type
Absolutely.
training. I could definitely get more in detail. I could. There's always things that are going to be coming up, like the money that the president is offering back, and just new funds that are going to be released to the consumers, like the 1,200 or stuff like that. And that's always good because what do you do with that money? You pay your mortgage, you pay your credit cards. How do you get out of here? How do you stay above water?
Yeah.
So that would be a good follow up type training for us.
Perfect. I'm up
But
for
yeah,
it.
awesome.
Good, good. Well, thank you again so much for being with me today. I really appreciate it. I think all of the information that you put out today, it was super valuable for anybody that doesn't know what to do, or isn't sure, or just hasn't made the decision to um, call the banks, because I know that we're all going through this kind of
Yeah,
in slow motion because there's nothing to do, right? But I think in
exactly.
the back of people's minds, although they have nothing to do because maybe they're not working, they just don't want to make that phone call, or there's some sort of anxiety in doing it. And I want to put out there that, most of the banks, and from your experience, from what you've shared with us, are open and willing to allow you to kind of either defer or ask for a forbearance. So I want to set the tone that, please, please, please don't be afraid to make those phone calls now, early on, so
Right.
that you don't ruin your credit. It's so hard to get it back to normal, but I'm hoping that this video is bringing value to people.
Yeah, I think if anything's shareable is this video. So yeah, whoever's watching this, share it. Tag your friends, tag your family. Erin's a licensed real estate agent, and we're ready to rock and roll and help you guys however we can. Okay,
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. We'll talk soon.
you got it. Thank you.